This is Boston Lanka News, bringing you news, views and entertainment from Boston and USA. I'm Vayoni Dimel. UsLanka, new magazine for the Sri Lankans all over the world. Magazine launched in Sri Lanka and USA last week. New book, Striding Through Life, from Subhadra Balasuriya. Stories about real people struggling with courage and determination to live. UsLanka, a bi-monthly magazine that will be distributed in Sri Lanka, USA, Canada, Australia, UK, Italy and many other countries, was launched last week. This was a publication of Boston Lanka Media network. UsLanka will be a high-end glamour magazine published from USA for the Sri Lankans all over the world. It includes articles on Sri Lankans living overseas and in Sri Lanka who have excelled in their respective fields, who have brought fame to their motherland Sri Lanka. UsLanka magazine also includes glamour-related articles about Sri Lankan origin fashion models, actors, musicians and other performing artists who reside all over the world. The first copy of the magazine was handed over to Ambassador Jalya Vikramasuriya at a simple ceremony at the embassy residence in Washington, D.C. on Friday, July 5th.
It is such a pleasure that we are presenting our first issue of our UsLanka magazine to Honorable Jalya Vikramasuriya, our ambassador in Washington, D.C. I think you have been supporting the Boston Lanka from the beginning, and of course with the magazine you have been a great support to us, and then we appreciate very much. And I think also tomorrow we are going to have another launch in Sri Lanka and with Jagat Chamila as our guest of honor, who brought fame to Sri Lanka. And I hope with this magazine we can also go to all corners of the world and show our excellence, Sri Lankan excellence, and also to, of course, show the beauty and the glory of Sri Lankans, and hopefully build a bridge and a link among the whole world Sri Lankan community. So I think, so again, I want to thank you for all the help, and I want to first give you the first issue of our magazine to you, and I hope you will continue to help us with our work.
First of all, I want to thank the Boston Lanka and Chitral and your wife coming all the way from Boston to present this magazine to me, actually to Sri Lanka. So I welcome both of you to my residence here in Washington, D.C. And actually this is a very timely initiative. It's we wanted something like that in the USA to share our story. And we have great Sri Lankans, not only in Sri Lanka, not only in US, all over the world. So this, I'm sure this type of magazine will help to share stories of those Sri Lankans, have they have lot to say, and I'm sure the Sri Lankans living all over the world wants to know about these stories. So thank you again for your initiatives, and my support is there, the Sri Lanka support is there for anything which will benefit Sri Lanka and Sri Lankans. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A special magazine launch was also held in Sri Lanka on July 6th with the participation of many celebrities, and the guest of honor was Jagat Chamila, who won the Best Actor Award at the New York City International Film Festival. Jagat Chamila has been a friend of Boston Lanka.
ඇත්තටම මම විශේෂයෙන් ස්තුති කරන්න ඕනේ නිව්යෝර්ක් නගරේ මේ සිනමාව වල තියෙනවා කියලා කිව්වහම බෝස්ටන් ලංකා නාලිකාව ඔස්සේ මාව ස්කයිප් හරහා අරගෙන මගේ විස්තර අරගෙන මේ ඉන්න සියලුම සිංහල ජනතාවට ප්‍රේක්ෂකයින්ට මේ විස්තර ලබා දුන්නා. බෝස්ටන් ලංකා නාලිකාවේ චිත්‍රාල් මහත්මයාටත් වයෝනිටත් මම අවංකවම ස්තුතිය පුද කරනවා මගේ රට වෙනුවෙන්. ඔවුන් මෙහෙට පැමිණිලා ඔවුන් ලොකු සේවයක් මේ වෙනුවෙන් කළා. ඉතින් ඔවුන් මාත් එක්ක නිරන්තරයෙන්ම හිටියා. මම බෝස්ටන් ලංකා නාලිකාවට මගේ හෘදයෙන් නැගෙන මගේ ගෞරවය පුද කරනවා.
One of the Boston Lanka partners, Dr. Subhadra Balasuriya, was in Sri Lanka for the launch, and he presented a UsLanka magazine to the guest of honor, Jagat Chamila. UsLanka chief editor addressed the gathering via Skype to share the vision of the magazine.
Our hope is that UsLanka magazine will be a link and a bridge between all Sri Lankans living all over the world. It's a magazine that is committed to bring the excellence of Sri Lankans and to highlight the beauty and the glory of Sri Lankans all over the world, and of course their achievements and their contributions in Sri Lanka and to the wider world. We would like to reach to young and old and people across ethnic and religious backgrounds, to all Sri Lankans. And of course, this is a magazine published in US, but it's a magazine about us, people of Mother Lanka.
Magazine hopes to set the standards of a high-end Sri Lankan magazine published out of Sri Lanka that covers fashion, inspiring and successful Sri Lankan stories all over the world, and hot topics and images of the glamour world of cinema, television, music and fashion scene of Sri Lanka and beyond. This will be a forum to showcase the excellence of Sri Lankans all over the world and to build a global network as a Sri Lankan community. Publishers hope that the business enterprises in Sri Lanka and abroad would consider UsLanka as a good vehicle to reach Sri Lankans all over the world. Striding Through Life is a book written by Subhadra Balasuriya, published by Sarasavya Publishers. Writing a foreword to the book, Senior Lecturer Nolani Jayavira notes that in the book, author silently and sympathetically lends an ear to people in distress or compassionately observe those who are helpless or defenseless. We join with the author Subhadra Balasuriya to discuss more about the book. Mrs. Balasuriya, how do you want to introduce this book, your book, Striding Through Life?
These are all real life happenings. It all happened in real life, and also some things give us an insight into how people's character is formed by the environment, how the environment influences somebody to become what he is, what he or she is. Especially that there are two stories about children whom I have personally witnessed. One person, he was so good at writing, but it was just nipped in the bud by his family, by the indifference of his family. Then there was another incident of a little child who was not treated properly by her own mother. Those are the main things that made me write those stories. But other things, just happenings like the one in Nigeria, because it was a very, when you read it, you will understand how traumatized those people, my friends, it happened to some of my friends. And that was what happened in Nigeria. Then the one in Oman also like that. It happened just next door to our school. Those are all real life stories. So I am sure people will be interested because of that.
How did you develop an interest to write and also to become a writer?
The interest in writing was with me from my small days. At first, I can remember as a very young girl, I used to write to the Silumina. There was a Silumina Kamalalama Samaja. That was how I started. So I used to write in Sinhala. And then later on, as then I was around in about grade 5, then later on I started writing in English. My essays also, my teachers used to like my essays. So that essay writing and things, it just inspired me to write. But I never wanted to become a professional writer or anything. I just wrote whatever came to my mind. And very often when some incidents made me write poetry. I have a heap of poetry as well. Whenever some incident happens, I write a poem about it.
I know you not only write stories but also write lyrics for songs. How did that happen?
Writing songs, of course, started when my son started playing the violin. So those days, when he was at home, he used to bring the violin and come to the kitchen when I was working. And while he played the violin, he would want me to sing. So I used to sing and he used to play the violin. So like that, because of his violin playing, I just wrote songs for him, and he was also so good as to always put good tunes to those songs, and some of them even they were sung by Vanoji on Radio Ceylon. That's how I started writing songs.
Are you working on any new projects these days?
No, I just wrote a story and sent it to Reader's Digest. I don't know whether they'll accept it. So I'll be just writing something always, all the time.
And now, Mrs. Balasuriya, this is a book of short stories. Is there a theme or common thread that is running throughout the book?
In most of them, it is how the environment and injustice meted out to somebody affects his or her life. That is the theme, I think, which runs in most of those stories, because I am always affected when, especially when children and women are mistreated by society. I am affected by that. It makes me very sad and very angry when I see children and women exploited. So those things, I think, I'm sure some of my stories would make those feelings in the readers too.
That concludes our news edition. We meet you again with another news edition of News, Views and Entertainment from Boston and USA. Till then, goodbye.